My name is Johannes. I'm from Vienna, Austria. Vienna is a beautiful city in a crazy little country in the middle of Europe, but I don't have to tell you a lot about it. You probably know it already. I'm part of an art and theory collective called Monochrome, and we've been doing many things in the last 20 years. We have done computer games, we've done activist performances, we did books, we did conferences. There's probably not a single medium out there that we have not played or toiled with or tried to be creative with. But there is one medium that we especially like, and we want to do more in that medium, and that medium is cinema. The main problem with cinema nowadays is that it is in a strange problem field, and that problem field means that the world today is so much science fiction that it's not displayable anymore. So I try to explain that. First of all, we like drama. Drama is something wonderful. We all are humans. We all like to tell stories. We are narrational beings. And drama, especially cinema is an emotional machine. You try to create something that keeps you entertained and informed and alive and feeling for an amount of, like, let's say 90 minutes, 100 minutes, something like that. So the traditional narrative, let's call it Hollywood cinema of the 20th century is really good at that. It captures your imagination, it draws you into a different world, and it's also a very interesting, profoundly political tool. So the drama with the drama of cinema is that it is based on action. The French philosopher Gilles Deleuze calls it the movement image. So in traditional narrative cinema, you need a camera, and that camera is pointing on movement and is recording that movement. And by intercutting, by creating waves of different patterns and different movements, you create an engaging, wonderful cinematic experience. But the main problem nowadays is that we have a lack of displayability. So and that's where the whole science fiction aspect and the problem of science fiction in narrative cinema comes in. The problem is that most of the stuff out there is not movement that's important nowadays. So you can make a film, no problem, a 120-minute feature film about a bank robbery, no problem. You can do it about a train robbery. Anything that actually shows physical action is a wonderful subject for the emotional machinery of traditional narrative cinema. So crime is always wonderful to show, of course, and there's always a lot of drama in that. But the main problem, and that's what I want to emphasize today, is that most of the really important part of our lives nowadays, and the most important part of our society, is not displayable anymore. It lacks displayability. You can do, with no problem, a long film, an exciting film about a bank robbery, but the problem is that all the wonderful crimes, all the wonderful stories, our future and our present looks like this. We are living in an algorithmic world. We're living in a world where most of the crime, most of the inventions, most of the drama looks like this. And that's hard to show, and it's boring to show. And how can we find ways to actually make our everyday world displayable again? And that's quite hard. We can definitely stick with Mr. Errol Flynn and say, what the fuck? Why is the traditional cinema of the 21st century still looking and still telling the same stories as in 1930 or something like that? Of course, it's inherent in the structure of cinema, but also not completely the problem of the structure of cinema. It's the problem of imagination. It's the problem of taking complex, wonderfully interesting schemes and algorithms and problems that we have every day and putting them into cinema. So why I'm so keen on trying to update cinema and why I'm so keen on making cinema work again, the main problem, it's easily explainable. The film Titanic, you probably know it. Many people probably hate it, many people love it, doesn't matter. Titanic is a wonderful example of an emotional machine that at the same time tells a political story. It's pretty much the story of the class differences of the early 20th century, but also tells a love story, also tells a story about technology and how it fails or doesn't fail. It's about human hubris and all that kind of stuff. So you can debate a lot if Titanic is a good film or not, but it's a wonderful example how James Cameron explains the world of the early 20th century. We need someone to explain the world of the early 21st century in cinema, and it's not happening yet. There are many, many ways to do that. For example, this increasing idea of using text messages or chat messages in movie images and stuff like that. And of course, people try to incorporate our everyday digital life in cinema, but it doesn't really work, and we still have to work on it, yeah? And the basic idea of science fiction, of course, science fiction is always about the present. Science fiction is never about the future. Science fiction is about the now. And if science fiction looks as boring in cinema as it does right now, then we're all fucked, okay? So how can we deal with this problem? And there's this wonderful quote from the Internationale, "We are nothing, let us be all." Let's go to Mr. Brecht. You probably know Mr. Brecht. He did a couple of really interesting things, a cool guy. And Brecht said a really wonderful thing. Brecht said that an image of an industrial plant, like, let's say, from the Krupp guys, an industrial plant like Krupp, an image of an industrial plant of Krupp is easy to show, but tells nothing about how the industrial plant of Krupp is actually working. The complex machinery of industrial capitalism cannot be shown just by an image or even a movie. So we have to think how we deal with that. And of course, that's even more and more complex in the almost 100 years between that image and what's happening nowadays. It's quite complicated to explain industrial capitalism in a film and in an emotional way, let alone like robotic algorithms who control Wall Street. So what do we do with that? And of course, we have the problem of stories. So we have to create stories, analogies, metaphors, things that make it easy for the people out there who are not interested in what I'm talking about to make that possible. People should be interested in patents, they should be interested in copyright, they should be interested in robotic algorithms, but they don't know about it. And cinema is a great way to tell those stories, like the story with Titanic and the class differences in Titanic. So let us tell stories about international relations and transnational capital and the systems of control and digital normativity and algorithmic society and abstract powers that be. The cool thing is that cinema has all of that stuff. Take The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is a wonderful little machine, but we have to update The Wizard of Oz to the 21st century. So, and we also, of course, have to be careful because, of course, political debates and movies tend to be reductionist. And the main problem nowadays is that most of the stuff out there is reductionist. But packing it in short fairy tales or whatever it is makes it possible to see utopia getting maybe a little bit closer, yeah? So somewhere in 8,535 kilometers distance, there's utopia, and my utopia would be we find ways to tell the stories of our days, nowadays, with the tools of our days, and it's a little bit complicated at the moment. There's just one example where I personally, because I'm a filmmaker, tried to do that. I call it the Städtensaga, The Rise of Exenfriedel. It's a film that I just recently made. I'm not sure I succeed in what I want to do, but it's a film about the problems of hacker culture and nerd culture and how subcultural and underground cultural movements try to stay fresh and try to question authority at the same time or assimilate it all the time. Yeah? So it's a film about nerd culture and how nerd culture works and about technology and the technologies of nowadays and how they might change the future. They can actually see the film tonight at 11 o'clock at the Utopia Festival. Thank you for inviting me. But you can also see it on Pirate Bay. So. So write it down. Or pay for a ticket, pay for a ticket. Good. So the story of the Gstetten saga is that in the early 21st century, the two last remaining superpowers, and that's China and Google, start the Third World War and pretty much like destroy civilization. And it's 70 years after that when civilization is being redeveloped and technology is being redeveloped. So it's kind of like a story about the 80s and 90s of nerd culture projected into this like strange fairy tale future. But we tried to pack a lot of the stuff that I was talking about into that film. Not sure if we succeeded or not, but in general it's a call for action. And I know there are filmmakers here in Tel Aviv as well, so maybe think about that. It's getting better and better, I have to say, but we're not there yet. So still, call for action. And well, that's me, that's my Twitter account, my email. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy DLD and hopefully also Utopia Fest. Yeah.
Thank you. On this topic, I'd really recommend a guy called Tony Zhu. He has he posts on YouTube comments on editing. He's a very good editor, and he has this wonderful 4-minute YouTube clip about texting and the internet in cinema, and its presentation. And now for a feature presentation, because we were talking about film. So we're going to see a teaser for a film that's an 8-minute film, but we're going to see a teaser that Daniel and Eran have made. It's called Sight.
Nice place you've got here.
Life is a journey. And in this journey, we all want to do more.
You know, I can tell what you're thinking right now.
Really? Experience more. Feel more.
Perfect night.
And live with no boundaries.
What's that?
Sight System presents.
I said wait.
Okay, wow. Thank you. So, Eran, Daniel, tell us a little bit how this film came to be.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Daniel. This is Eran. Well, the short that you're going to see soon, if you haven't seen it already on the internet, it's basically our graduation project. We're both graphic designers, and we did this thing 2 years ago. It's a short futuristic film about a future not so far away where basically contact lenses have replaced smartphones and tablets, and basically all your augmented reality space is in fact in your head. Yeah.
This was a grad project for the visual communications, right?
Right.
This isn't the normal grad project. How was it received?
At the beginning, it was pretty hard for us to get the project done, or to get the concept done. But once we started working on the film and all the mentors saw the potential in the short film, there was no problem at all. And actually, it was really, really acceptable.
What did you get? What was the grade?
It was, I think, 90, 95, 97.
Yeah, I'm sure it was
Yeah,
97.
it was a very good grade.
Wow. Okay. And what was the reaction? You released it on the web. What happened?
That part was pretty unbelievable. We just put it online for our friends to see, and it became very viral. I think it got like 3 million views in about a month. And since then, we got a lot of requests saying, hey, do a video for us, or you should turn this into a movie, and we're planning to do that.
Oh, you're being humble. You got more than requests to make it into a movie? You got approached.
Yeah. It's in the works. We don't wanna jinx it. We're working on it, and hopefully it'll be made.
Where was it vis-a-vis Google Glass?
Yeah. Well, when we finished the short, the film, right before we released it to the internet, I think Google came out with their Google Glasses and their video. And when we saw that, we were like, oh, this is amazing. This is exactly like where the world is going. So we felt we hit a very crucial spot right then and there. And part of the video's viral success is because everyone sort of compared this to Google Glass. And yeah, except ours is much more scary.
We're not going to be able to see the film. We're running out of time, but I recommend everybody seeing it. There was a thought about a different ending, right? Yeah. Well, you'll contemplate that. And what's next for Robot Genius? What happened since the film?
We got to make a whole bunch of. We made another short film. You can see it on our website, which is not here right now.
It's called.
It's called Streets of Rage. It's an adaptation of a comic book by a story by Edgar Keret and Asaf Hanukkah. And yeah, more things are in the works right now. We just opened a new studio and working on exciting things.
Okay. I apologize for not having the time to see the film. It's available online, as you've seen. It's an 8-minute film I really, really, really recommend seeing, because it touches on everything we've discussed here and much, much more. And it's really relevant for the Games Conference that's about to begin here for Game IS. So thank you, everyone. You're all invited to the Utopia Film Festival and the Utopia other events up until Saturday. And thank you, Yossi, for inviting us. Toda raba. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.